I have land in Scotland. Today my animation was produced by the support of established titles, and they gave me land, and you too can become a landowner in Scotland. Established Titles is a fun and noble way to preserve the natural woodlands of Scotland while helping global reforestation efforts. It is a project based on a historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lairds, or lords and ladies in English. When you purchase at least 1 square foot of land, you will receive these official certificates and a unique plot number that shows the exact location of your land. And they plant a tree with every order and work with global charities, 1 tree planted and trees for the future to support global reforestation efforts. Therefore, we will protect the environment of the earth. You could officially change your name to Lord or Lady and get it on your credit card, plane tickets, etc. You can even get it on your dating profiles. I am happy to be the owner of the land and to be able to protect the environment. The first 200 people purchasing a title pack using my link will effectively be next to my plot, within a few minutes of walking distance. Depending on how many of you want to become a lord or a lady, we can build our little onesie kingdom. It makes an amazing last-minute gift. Established Titles is actually running a Black Friday sale right now. Plus, if you use the code ONESIE, you get an additional 10% off. Go to establishedtitles.com/onesie to get your gifts now and help support the channel.
This is my true story. What I'm about to tell you is the scariest thing I've ever experienced. I'm 17 years old, and I live in a pretty rural town in Michigan. I was at my friend's house to stay the night. I won't mention his name for privacy purposes. He lives way out in the country, so it's very peaceful where he lives. It was summer, so we decided we would camp outside rather than sleep in his house. I had also brought my dog over to help get rid of my friend's raccoon problem. We spent the day playing video games, shooting guns out in the woods, making a bonfire, and talking about normal, immature, redneck, teenage boy stuff, like trucks, girls, how much liberals suck, and going down to Florida for an epic guys trip when we graduate high school. Once the sun began to set, we decided to go for a walk and talk in the woods. My dog and his dog tagged along with us. We walked for about 10 minutes and decided to stop and watch the sunset behind a wheat field. It was beautiful, and I enjoyed it while I could before I would have to go back to my house in the suburbs. Once the sun had set, we decided to head back. It was dark out and very hard to see. My friend and I, being the idiots that we were, forgot to bring a flashlight. The woods were very dense, so there was little moonlight shining through. We had to rely on a rinky-dinky flashlight on my phone. The dogs started to act weird, though. They were on edge, as if someone or something was following us. We blew it off, however, thinking it was just a deer or something. Suddenly, both dogs had stopped dead in their tracks and looked around the woods. The hair on my dog's back stood up, and he let out a deep, throaty growl as he bared his teeth. My friend's dog was acting similarly, only he was sniffing the air and walking in circles around us. He would growl at the slightest noise. At this point, my friend and I were freaking out. We didn't know why the dogs were acting so aggressive. My dog then does what he always does when he sees something he doesn't like. He stood completely still with his tail sticking up in the air. He was no longer standing up straight. He had lowered his head, staring off into the darkness. My friend's dog soon caught wind of whatever my dog was seeing and began barking viciously. We were both nervous, but we weren't totally freaking out because we're 2 teenage boys who have been in physical conflict before. And we had 2 big dogs with us. I shone my flashlight toward the direction where the dogs were looking at. It was useless. I could only see 5 feet in front of me. It was silent for a moment. Then my friend and I heard a noise that will haunt us till we die. The silence was broken by loud, maniacal laughter coming from directly in front of us. It had to have been close, given how loud it was. My friend picked up a large stick off the ground and held it ready to swing at whoever was out there. "This is private property," my friend shouted into the darkness. There was no response. "My dad is a cop," he yelled. My heart was racing, and I was sweating all over. "Let's just run back," I whispered to him. He told me that he wasn't just going to let someone trespass on his property without paying the price. I noticed how brave my friend was acting, and that gave me some courage. I picked up a stick too, and said something I immediately regretted. "We're going to beat your ass," I yelled. After I had yelled that, we heard twigs snapping coming towards our direction. The dogs then sprinted off in that direction. We tried to call them back, but they completely blew us off. We chased after the dogs, trying not to trip over anything. We heard the dogs growling and barking. I then heard a scream of pain from what sounded like a man. We followed the noises and found the dogs fighting someone. It was obviously a man. I shone the flashlight on him. He had a pig mask on. He wore a white tank top with a red flannel shirt over it. He was wearing torn-up blue jeans that were caked with dried mud. He wore old work boots that looked like they'd been dipped in water. My friend was trying to pull the dogs off the man. He eventually did, and the guy got up surprisingly fast and tried to make a run for it. My friend was a bit too big to chase after someone, so I ran at him and dragged him to the ground from behind. He got up and I punched him in the stomach as hard as I could. He moaned in pain, clenching his stomach. He dropped to the ground. My friend was pissed off at this weirdo and smacked him multiple times with a branch. I saw something gleaming in his pocket. It was a switchblade knife. The man then said something I didn't expect. Hey, cool it, guys." He had a normal-sounding voice. He sounded like he was in his 20s or 30s. He got up and ripped off the pig mask, revealing a surprisingly normal face. The only thing off about him was his right eye that was looking uncontrollably to the ground. "It's a prank," he shouted, sounding like he was about to burst into tears. "Why the hell do you have a knife in your pocket?" I screamed at him. He said nothing. He gave us both an evil grin. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the knife as he flipped out the blade. The tip was covered in blood. "Oh shit!" my friend screamed. We both ran like hell back toward the house with the dogs following us. We heard twigs snapping behind us. I heard him screaming crazily. "I'm sorry, Kate," he screamed. He repeated this over and over again. This guy obviously had something wrong with his head. We burst into the clearing of my friend's yard and ran towards the house. My legs were moving so rapidly I thought they would fall off. We turned the corner leading to his back porch, tripping over his pet pig in the process. We scrambled for the door handle. My friend got it open, and we literally fell on our way into the house. The dogs entered in after us. I got up and closed the door and locked it. I peeked outside, and to my horror, I saw him. "He's still out there," I screamed to my friend. He looked too, and saw him. His dad then entered the room with a worried look on his face. "What's wrong?" he asked us. My friend told him about the crazy guy. His dad ran downstairs and grabbed a 12-gauge shotgun. He came back upstairs and told us to stay inside. He looked outside and saw the man. He swung open the door, pointed the gun at the man, told him he was a cop, and demanded him to drop the knife and get on the ground. The man screamed at him and tried to sprint off into the woods. His dad took aim and pulled the trigger. The loud bam of the gun echoed in the night. The man fell to the ground with a quick yelp of pain. His dad cautiously approached him with the gun still in his hand. I could see that the shotgun had blasted a giant hole in the man's back. "He's dead," my friend's dad told us. About 5 minutes later, the coroners came to pick up the dead body, followed by the police. I watched in relief as they placed a white sheet over the man's body. I still stayed the night at my friend's house, given the situation. A few days later, my friend and I received a profile of the man. Apparently, he had murdered his wife during an argument, which is what the blood from the knife was. Her name was Kate, which is why he was screaming her name. He also had major mental issues. I still hang out with my friend, but whenever we walk in those woods, we carry a pellet gun with us.